All right, good morning, everyone. We'll go ahead and call this meeting of the recommending to order. That's item number one. We're in compliance with the open meeting law. That's a yes?
Yes, we are.
Thank you. Okay, so the first agenda item, which is agenda item number 3, is bill number 2018-20 for possible action, amends LVMC 6.95.090 to limit the availability of business licenses for retail marijuana stores to those that will be operate in conjunction with medical marijuana dispensaries at the same location. It's sponsored by Bob Coffin. Mr. Coffin has contacted me this morning, and apparently he's working on some amendments, so he has asked that we vote to obey this for 30 days. So I believe Councilwoman Fiore is going to make that motion. However, this is a public hearing, so if you would like to make a public comment on this agenda item today, you are allowed to do that. If you want to wait 30 days, and I'll give you the date when we're actually going to hear the bill, you also will be able to have public comment then. So, anybody want to make public comment today before we obey it?
Good morning. For the record, my name is Mona Lisa Samuelson, and I am Nevada's very first medical marijuana patient advocate and community activist. And of course, the dual licensure, meaning you're licensed with rec and medical, it's one way of protecting the priorities given to medical marijuana patients. Because per our regulations, and something that I fought very hard for, was to see that medical marijuana patients were given priority in a dual licensure situation. But I think what's most interesting to note is how this community feels about the monopolizing of the marijuana industry. So although patients are very much behind protecting the ideals of medical marijuana, and something that we worked very hard to set up, it looks like you're going to have a little bit of reckoning to do with the rest of the community. And so we look forward to seeing how that works out. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else want to make comment on this particular bill? Okay, Councilwoman Fiore.
I motion to obey for until September 4th.
Okay, we have a motion to obey this to the recommending commission September 4th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay. Oh. I do that every time because I'm used to doing it. Okay, let's do this electronically. Get with the program.
We've got the adult chamber today. Sorry.
All right, there you go. Yeah, we have the. All right, motion carries unanimously. So plan on hearing that September 4th. That recommending. Item number 4 for possible action to authorize the City Council to consider and decide the merits of any application or proposed legislative measure that has been tabled or held in abeyance by a board, commission, or committee under certain circumstances and conditions, sponsored by Mayor Goodman. And who's going to speak on this? Val?
Yes, Val Steed, Deputy City Attorney. This was a bill that was requested by the mayor. She was concerned that there might be circumstances where a board or committee that the council has set up might table a bill or hold it indefinitely or obey it for a long period of time, and so she wanted to process this bill and see how the council felt about giving the city council the authority to pull something forward in those circumstances.
Okay, any public comment on this particular item? Anybody wish to be heard? All right, I'll close public comment. Councilman Fiore?
I make a motion to approve.
Okay, there's a motion to approve. Go ahead and vote. And post, motion carries unanimously. That will go to the August 15th City Council meeting as a recommendation. Number 5, generally prohibits certain activities on a public sidewalk or within a public right-of-way at any location within 1,000 feet of any received dock or food processing facility. This is bill number 2018-22. This is being sponsored by Councilwoman Fiore, Councilwoman Tarkanian, and Councilman Creer. So who's going to explain this one to us?
Good
Hi.
morning.
Morning.
Kathy Thomas Gibson, Acting Director for the Office of Community Services, here with Katie Sears, our Management Analyst, to prepare to answer any questions. This particular bill is related to both traffic safety and food safety concerns, so that we do not have any accidents near our loading docks, which are operating 24 hours. And we are also trying to ensure that we don't have homeless encampments springing up around those buildings that throw off a lot of shade. So we want to protect both those individuals who might be encamping from traffic safety issues, and also protect the health and welfare of consumers of those products being produced.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing. Anybody wishing to be heard on this item? Hi. Could you state your name for us?
Hi, my name is Amy Rose. I'm the legal director for the ACLU of Nevada. And I'm here today because the ACLU of Nevada strongly opposes this bill. We see it as prohibiting life-sustaining activities. This ordinance unnecessarily targets the homeless population who already face systemic discrimination by local governments and law enforcement agencies. And this is not a good solution to the larger housing and mental health crises facing the state of Nevada, especially among the homeless population. We recognize the government's duty to protect the health, safety, and welfare of our communities, but this institutional bias against our community's most vulnerable citizens is a problem today. The bill seeks to essentially criminalize homelessness, and as opposed to advancing policies that address the root causes of poverty. Specifically, sitting or lying on the sidewalk right away or on a blanket, stool, or any other object placed upon the sidewalk or right of way is problematic because it interferes with an individual's Eighth Amendment right and the fundamental right to travel to engage in life-sustaining activities. Sitting and lying laws similar to these criminalize essentially innocent activity, and they burden the First Amendment right of freedom of speech and are designed to give police essentially a tool for selective enforcement, is one of the really big concerns we have with this. So we have a letter that I'll submit to the council, and we can email that to you later today, but I just wanted to come today and express our concerns with this particular bill and the problems that it may cause. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. And I admire the work that the ACLU does, and your stand on a lot of issues, especially because I work closely with justice reform in Carson City. With this ordinance that we are looking to send to our council, I would like to know what exactly is the ACLU doing to help prevent individuals from defecating where we have food, where then all of a sudden the Southern Nevada Health District will come and find the actual owner and shut down a food processing plant because we're fighting for someone's rights to defecate right next to food. So what exactly is the ACLU doing to help our homeless here in Clark County and help us fix the situation?
So a couple of things. One, I think the issue is not, what are we doing to help people stop defecating in the road? What our job is, and what I think we tried to do and why we're here today, is to protect the rights of people to engage in constitutionally protected activity. Especially with the homeless population, we've seen not just by, the food service activities, but all along other homeless corridors, individuals are being caught up in what we call homeless sweeps, where people come and they take the people or the police and at the direction of the city, they come and they take all of their belongings. And so that's something that we're really concerned about and that we're working on and trying to protect. But why I'm here today and why we're telling you our concerns is to let you know about the fact that we are concerned about discriminatory enforcement, about criminalizing poverty, and about giving somebody a misdemeanor that's punishable by up to 6 months in jail, $1,000 fine, simply because they're standing outside a food processing activity. This doesn't criminalize, someone who's going to the bathroom. This criminalizes everybody. This is somebody who's literally just standing outside the food processing facility. If they don't move at the direction of the police officer immediately, then they're subject to a misdemeanor, which is a crime. And in fact, the way the bill is written, the fact that the officer has to give a warning is only an affirmative defense. So first they get the ticket, and then they have to show up to court, and they're homeless, they don't have money for an attorney, maybe they don't know where to go, or they have other mental health issues. And so we don't see this as the right way of solving that problem by just automatically making it a crime. Maybe there's other outreach that can be done in conjunction with the ACLU, and we're happy to help with that. I certainly understand there are concerns that need to be addressed. We're not blind to that, but we'd like to do it in a way that doesn't just create another crime and create people in just more contact with the criminal justice system, which only continues the cycle of poverty.
Well, I agree with you, and I thank you for your testimony. And if you'd like to work together with us on solving this issue and helping these folks, I'm all for you guys coming and helping us. You also have to understand that sometimes when they get arrested or something, it's not that they're taking their belongings, they're retrieving stolen property as well. Some of those carts are stolen from Albertsons, Smith's. It's not their carts. So unless you want to go and purchase carts and give them to them, or there's other activities we can do, there's a lot that we need to work together with the homeless, like giving them a constant hand up, not so much of a handout, and working together. But you need to have a willing and able participant in order to save someone. They need to want to be saved. Do you understand?
Sure, I certainly understand what you're saying, and I think the problem is very complicated, certainly, but we don't see this bill as it's written as solving any problems, and it's only going to exacerbate the ones that exist.
Well, I thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any other public comment? Okay, do I have a motion?
A motion to send to council and approve.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve. Go ahead and vote. And post. Motion carries unanimously. This will go to the August 15th City Council meeting. Okay, 2018-23 amends various provisions of Title LVMC 11 to specifically provide for enforcement of non-metered paid vehicle parking in city-owned or city-leased parking lots. Amends the definition of tour bus for parking purposes to clarify that it does not include limousines. Sponsored by Councilman Creer. Hi.
Good morning. For the record, Brandy Stanley, Parking Services Manager for the City of Las Vegas. This proposed ordinance does two things. One is it solves a problem that we've been having with some of the casinos downtown where there are posted areas posted for tour buses only. There is a hole in the municipal code that allows limousines also to use these parking spaces. The problem that creates is that the tour buses that are bringing down 50 and 60 passengers don't have any place to park because the area is taken up by limousines. So this ordinance will fix that and allow us to get the limousines to move along so we can make room for the tour buses. The other piece of this is it allows us to charge in arrears anyone that parks in one of our parking garages and for some reason is unable to or unwilling to pay the parking fee to exit the garage. So this allows us to pursue those parking fees that are due after they leave the garage.
Okay. There's, let's see, we'll open up to public comment. Anyone from the public wanting to speak on this? Seeing none?
Motion to approve?
Okay, we have the motion to approve. Go ahead and vote. And post. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Brandy. This bill will be heard at the August 15th City Council meeting. Bill number 2018-24 for possible action amends LVMC Title 19 to adopt additional standards regarding the repurposing of certain golf courses and open spaces and to consolidate those provisions which previously adopted public engagement provisions regarding such repurposing proposals. This is sponsored by Councilman Soroka. I've been contacted by Councilman Soroka and representatives of NAIOP asking that this be obeyed for 30 days. I think we may be voting on that in a second, so if you want to make public comment, I'll open that. But we will be probably hearing this bill on September 4th. So go ahead and open public comment. Go ahead.
Good morning, Councilman, Councilwoman. John Lelu here on behalf of NAIOP. We were appearing today to request the abeyance, but before I got to the abeyance, I did need to point something out. During a telephone conference this week, it was, or during my presentation before the City Council 2 weeks ago, I did make mention of the fact that NAIOP had made a couple of requests on the record, plus one in writing, to be included in stakeholder meetings, and that we had not received a response. I learned just in the last week that that was not the case. The Councilman Soroka's office had in fact been in contact directly with members of our board, and I just did not know that. At the end of the day, I'm the person who is up here making the public comment. The buck stops with me, and I've got to take responsibility for that. And to that end, I have to offer the Councilman Soroka staff, Mr. Perigo, Mr. Summerfield, a sincere apology. What I said was in error and was wrong. That being said, NAIOP does remain opposed to this ordinance. However, NAIOP, again, is in contact with Councilman Soroka's office. He has been in almost constant contact with our board members. We have presently scheduled a meeting to discuss this ordinance this coming Friday, and accordingly, we are going to stand before you today and request an abeyance of this item to allow that meeting to occur, so hopefully we can get on the same page. Thank you.
Well, great. Thank you very much. I appreciate your comments. Hi.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Stephanie Allen, 1980 Festival Plaza, here on behalf of 70 Acres, 180 Land, and 4 Stars, the 3 owners of the former Badlands Golf Course. Just briefly, we'll save most of our testimony for the September hearing, assuming that this is going to be held, but we have been one of just a handful of people that have been involved in the public process for these 2 phases of the ordinance, and what this has transpired into. We have concerns with the way the process has been handled. There has not been much outreach for the development community. Obviously, this adversely impacts my client specifically, but also the entire development community, and I'm glad to see there's some other folks participating in this at this point or this late date. We view this as an anti-development ordinance. I know Henderson has adopted an ordinance, but it's much better than this draft that's before you today for a number of reasons. I think there's the ability in this ordinance to be applied discriminatorily towards certain property owners. It can be retroactive, which is obviously a concern for my client in particular. After years of trying to develop the property and trying to work with the city on a way to maintain that property prior to the development, there's huge concerns with having to turn back and redo that process or do something differently. There's language in here that any open space would have to be maintained at the same level as it was upon closure, which obviously is an extraordinary expense for not only my client, but any property owner if they were to close some type of open space and have to, for financial reasons, and then have to maintain it at that same level. Surely that would go back to the banks, and then the banks would be subject to this ordinance, which is should be a concern for the banking institutions as well. Overall, we're opposed to the ordinance. We think there's a ton of work to be done, obviously, with this ordinance. Your Planning Commission has denied both phases of this ordinance for these same reasons, and we'd ask that you listen to their recommendation, and we're happy to continue to work, although there has not been much input. You all took a ton of testimony on the first phase of this. We appreciate it, but many of those changes didn't make it into the first phase of the bill. In fact, there was no opportunity to even speak at that public hearing. So the process has been flawed, and we feel like we've had a lack of due process as far as this ordinance is concerned. Most of the time when the city adopts ordinances, you involve the community, you ask for input, you make suggestions, you make changes before you adopt a law. That has not been the case with this ordinance. And it has turned into from phase 1 to now is of extreme concern. There are criminal penalties, imprisonment penalties in here. That is not in the City of Henderson's ordinances. So there's a lot of things that need to change with this ordinance before anyone in the development community should be able to get behind it. So we'll make those same arguments in September, and we appreciate your consideration.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else wanting to speak? Come on up.
Good morning. My name is Todd Davis, General Counsel for EHB Companies, address 1215 South Fort Apache. Just a quick housekeeping issue, and that is taking a look at the agenda summary page for the recommending committee, July 30th, 2018. When you look at the fiscal impact section, the box is checked that says no impact. And if you look at below that, it says budget funds available, and there's nothing filled out there. Maybe it's just pure housekeeping, but I think anybody who's familiar with this ordinance can reasonably assume that litigation is guaranteed on this ordinance. And to that extent, the low end of the cost of implementation of this ordinance would be the legal fees, which would be fairly substantial. The high end, in the event that that litigation results in a determination that a taking has occurred in favor of the Badlands bailout, is probably several $100 million. So just to the extent that this is a disclosure to the public, that the fiscal considerations have been taken into account in implementing this so that the taxpayer understands who's writing a check on from its pocketbook. Just wanted to point that item out. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Peter Guzman, President of the Latin Chamber of Commerce, and thank you so much for allowing me to speak today. So at the Latin Chamber of Commerce, our largest growth pattern over the last 3 years has been developers and construction industry. Those of us that have been here a long time, I've been here 48 years now, we remember not too long ago when construction and development stopped. It was not fun. Your body, your job, in my opinion, is to create scenarios where more development happens, where it's easier to do development and construction, because that creates economic development, that creates jobs. And so I'm hearing from my members over this ordinance, I couldn't believe how many phone calls I've gotten, that are worried that this will stop development. This will make it more difficult when government's role should be to make it easier, not more difficult. And I'll tell you, the more I look into this, and I believe there are no coincidences, this ordinance is extreme. And not only is it extreme, it appears to me that it's extreme towards one fight, towards one person. Is it a coincidence that it's happening now, this ordinance? Maybe it should be called the Johan Ordinance, because it appears that that's who we're going after here. And I can't believe that government, people that we elect, would develop ordinances that go after specific individuals. And by the way, specific individuals that have created a tremendous amount of jobs and tremendous amount of quality development. So that being said, I hope that we can look to you guys to kill this ordinance and let all developers in construction know that the city of Las Vegas is open for business. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tommy White, Laborers Local 872, 2345 Red Rock Street. I'm here today to oppose this ordinance also. I mean, our lives are based around building. And this ordinance basically forces contractors and developers to go one way. So I'm going to read some of this, and then I'm going to give you some of my own opinion. This ordinance is poorly drafted and is legally flawed. This is simply government overreach and is abusive and insulting to developers and the entire building community. This ordinance will cause developers significant delays and in turn could jeopardize developers' financing and potential future development. Is this the kind of message the City Council wants to send to the development community? Your own Planning Commission opposed this ordinance in a unanimous vote. Councilwoman Fiore, I want to compliment you on opposing this and the other far-reaching measures brought forward by Councilman Soroka. We believe this is the future. This this is a future way to stop the developer from building on his land and to close Badlands Golf Course. This ordinance will kill close to $250 million in contract for the unions. On top of that, taxes and more money for the city coffers. Quite frankly, I cannot believe this council would even be considering an ordinance of this nature. When I read the Section 7, I find it appalling that you would even consider punishing developers with jail time for not abiding by this ordinance. Members of Local 872 are consistently building in Las Vegas and in turn in benefiting our community. We advocate for a public policy issue that increase economic development and create jobs across the community. This is simply a job killer. I find it wrong on behalf of my 2,400 members, and we urge you to turn this anti-growth ordinance and send the right message to Las Vegas and the nation. You know, on another part of that, when Councilman Soroka ran, he ran based on building. He ran based on supporting, putting people to work. And this is just a total flop on what he ran for. And I'm glad you're having a meeting in September, because September is Labor Month for us. So how many seats do we have here? How many seats can I fill come September? Because trust me, we plan on filling it. Like the one gentleman said about there'll be a cost, I can guarantee you that there'll be a cost, because I will tell you, Labor's Local 872 will fight this with our attorneys, and there will be a cost on fighting this ordinance. So with that, I appreciate it, and hopefully you guys will turn this ordinance down.
So we can have 600 people in here,
And I can fill that easily.
and it will be September 4th.
Thank you.
Okay, any other public comment? Okay, do I have a motion?
You have a motion to kill this bill or obey it for 30 days?
Obey it till September. Is that your motion? Okay, we have a motion to obey this till September 4th. Go ahead and vote. All right, motion carries unanimously. We will see you on this September 4th. Thank you for your comments. All right, item number 8, bill number 2018-25, for possible action amends various provisions of the Unified Development Code to provide for administrative deferrals and deviations regarding certain development requirements, and to adjust the requirements for private streets and street terminations proposed by the city manager. Who's gonna, yes, go right ahead.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, so this proposed bill will amend various provisions within the Unified Development Code. Specifically, it will provide the deferral process for off-site improvements such as street lights, curb, gutter, sidewalks. It'll provide for a process that will allow that deferment so that people don't have to consistently come in and get waivers on their projects, which can cause delays and additional expenses. And further, this bill will amend provisions of the subdivision code and our complete street standards in fulfillment of the city's memo of understanding regarding the implementation of residential fire sprinklers. There's a number of provisions there that were agreed to with the Southern Nevada Home Builders Association back in February, and this simply codifies those components of that memo into the appropriate sections of the Unified Development Code. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll open it up to public comment. Anyone wishing to be heard on this?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Council. I'm here today. I'm Matt Hodgson with the Southern Nevada Home Builders Association, and I have some comments here, and actually it's reflective of items 8 through 17. So instead of coming up 10 more times, it kind of encompasses everything, because this has been a process working with city and their staff for almost a year now. So they're reflected items 8 through 17. This ordinance and the International Code items and supplemental documents of the International Fire Code reflect many, many long hours and almost a year working with Chief Nolan and his whole staff, and Tom Perigo and his whole staff. It's a great benefit to the industry and public safety to have regional codes and your staff's efforts to harmonize codes every 6 years is greatly appreciated by our members. Additionally, I'd like to thank the leadership of the mayor and the rest of the city council and city management, bringing stakeholders together to adopt residential fire sprinklers. I can tell you this represents a historical event in our industry, because to our knowledge, no other HBA has actually worked with the municipality to implement residential fire sprinklers. But because you invite us to the table as stakeholders, we work together. It's not something we asked for or wanted it, but we came to a very good agreement, which we think is mutually beneficial. I'd like to clarify that the ordinance only applies to communities that have had a chance to mitigate the sprinkler uses from the points of the MOU. It's really important because this MOU, in conjunction with the IFC and the IRC, is what makes it work and complies with our state law. I also want to mention our support and streamline rural neighborhood street improvements. That's agenda number 8. I'd like to thank Alan Pavelka and Peter Lowenstein for working hard with us for the final package. Again, it's something that costs us more money, but we appreciate being at the table and coming up with something that works for everybody. And again, I just want to mention on record that, like additional regulations adopted, just like the ordinances and the codes you have before you today, both rule standards and new building codes, it does put pressure on builders because it costs money. I just want to make sure I make that point. However, the mitigating measures approved as part of this package with the MOU and the rest of the codes were in good faith effort to the responsibility to mitigate the impact and preserve access to the market for all home buyers, and we support the overall package for that reason. So thank you.
Okay, I just want to make sure, so representing the home builders here in Southern Nevada, items 9 through 17, are you speaking on just 9, or are you speaking on 17?
Actually, 8 through 17, try to do it all in one, and I encompass the MOU, which is item number 8, with the rule of standards, because it affects item 9 and 11, as it's a package deal for the state law.
So are you in favor of item 8?
Yes, I am.
You are in favor
Yes,
of item 8?
I'm in favor of 8 through 17. I probably didn't even say that at the beginning. I apologize
You
for
are
that.
in favor, as the home builders?
Southern Nevada Home Builders in favor of item 8 through 17.
17, okay, I got you.
Sorry about that.
Yep, that's what I needed to understand. Okay, thank you, 8 through 17.
Thank you.
Okay, any other public comment on number 8? Okay, I'll close public comment on 8. Do I have a motion for 8?
Yes, can we obey 8 for 30 days to the September 4th meeting?
If that's your motion, yes.
Thank
we'll
you.
vote.
Okay.
Go ahead and vote. Okay, so 8 is obeyed till the September 4th recommending committee. All right, now we will go on to item number 9, which is the Bill 2018-26 for possible action adopts as the city's fire code, the International Fire Code 2018 edition, together with the local modifications and supplements proposed by City Manager Scott Adams. Welcome.
Good morning, members of the recommending committee. For the record, I am Robert Nolan, Deputy Fire Chief, Las Vegas Fire and Rescue, and the city's fire marshal. I come before you in the matter of Bill 218-26, which, if passed, would replace the 2012 International Fire Code and the 2012 consensus amendments with the 2018 International Fire Code and the 2018 Consensus Fire Code amendments and the City of Las Vegas supplement to the International Fire Code. Significant changes from the 2012 to the International Fire Code to the 2018 IFC include new regulations for cryogenic carbon dioxide when used as beverage dispensing propellant, new regulations of sky lanterns, the requirement of emergency planning for outdoor public assembly, automatic fire sprinklers for rooftop assembly areas, more detailed requirements for carbon monoxide detection and alarm, specific requirements for the outdoor storage of wooden pallets, new regulations for mobile food trucks, the requirement for lockdown plans that has been added to the emergency planning chapter. An entire new chapter has been created that addresses safety concerns for energy systems, the e-wall, that sort of thing that we're seeing. A new list of qualifications for those performing fire watch duties has been inserted into the construction and demolition chapter. And an entire new chapter has been added to address safety concerns in laboratory facilities associated with higher learning institutions. We've tried this a couple times with varying results. In addition to the IFC, the bill would adopt the 2018 Consensus Fire Code amendments developed valley-wide with input from stakeholders throughout the valley. And this package amends and modifies the base IFC document with an additional 186 items. That sounds like a lot, but it's actually a reduction of 51 amendments from the 2012 amendment package. It's important to note that one of the previous consensus amendments that was not carried over from 2012 is the amended definition of a high-rise building of 55 feet, as opposed to the model code definition of 75 feet. There was a time where that definition was important as a major driver to require fire sprinklers in buildings taller than 55 foot. But with the adoption of the 2000 IFC and the IBC that already contained those provisions, it was no longer necessary. My recommendation to this committee is to move the bill 21826 forward to the City Council for adoption, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Hi. Morning.
Good morning. For the record, Kevin McCosker, Director of Building and Safety. Specifically, I'll be talking about item 10, which is the adoption of the building code. But
yeah, we're going to do them one at a time. Okay. So we're on item number 9 right now.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'll open it up for comment on item number 9. Go ahead and have a seat, and we'll probably call you back up again. So anyone who wants to speak on item number 9, come on down and state your name and make your comments.
Hello, my name is Angelo Aragon. I'm the president of the Professional Firefighters of Nevada. I represent every single IFF local within the state of Nevada. I have 2,600 members, and I'd like to speak on items 9 through 17. And I'd like to begin by asking you to obey all of those items for the following reasons. What seemingly is as the fire chief just mentioned, it was an inconsequential change for the definition of a high-rise. Nothing could be further from the truth. If I could list a few items that change addresses, I believe you can see the importance of all those changes. Those changes, moving a high-rise definition from 55 feet to 75 feet, will remove stairwell communication systems for firefighter safety and residential safety. It would remove water supply to required fire pumps, firefighter safety, and residential safety. Fire pumps and fire pumps rooms were not required unless hydraulically necessary. That, I would guess maybe 50% of those things would affect firefighter safety and residential safety. The fire command centers, which are now required, would no longer be required, affecting safety again. Emergency power systems, which are required currently, would not be required in those mid-rise buildings. Standby power systems would also be removed. Fire alarm systems on certain requirements would remain the same, but some of those would change, affecting safety to some degree. Smoke removal systems in those buildings would also not be required. Means of egress and evacuation, not required within all floors, those would also be removed. As you can see, this does affect firefighter safety, and most importantly, residential safety. Those changes have an effect. This exact language was dealt with at the last legislative session under SB 67. And I'm going to have my lobbyist speak to that here in a minute. What I find most complexing, I guess, a complex issue, is the fact that just in February, this city council voted unanimously to support residential fire sprinklers, a position which firefighters supported. My president spoke on behalf of that change, of that requirement for residential fire sprinklers. By doing that, this council also placed at the feet of those new construction residents a $3,000 cost for all new homes that are built with fire sprinkler systems. What we're now asking, at a cost of fire safety for firefighters and residents, is to allow the developers to have a cost break for that same construction for those mid-rise construction. All this is a cost break reduction for for those developers. That is it. It does not, it reduces the amount of safety for firefighters and your constituents, those residents that are going to be occupying these mid-rise structures. And with that, I'm going to have my lobbyist come up and speak to the changes that were made with SB 67 and those that participated in that discussion.
Oh, okay, I may have you speak to that.
Good morning, Council. Todd Inglesby, Local 1285 member, and also member of the PFN and lobbyist for the firefighters of Nevada. This bill was presented by the city last legislative session, Senate Bill 67. This bill, we had numerous meetings with all the parties involved. The last conversation we had was from leadership from the legislative session. They told us if we could get together and work on something and make some compromises, we could move this bill forward. We, professional firefighters, all were unanimous. The builders were unanimous. All the other construction worker locals were unanimous on getting together. Yet, we were left out. There was never any conversation. There was never any more contact from the city of Las Vegas, from our chief, up until 2 weeks ago when we were made aware of this by another city. We do have concern because, again, we are putting a dollar amount on our members' lives and your constituents' lives because we are putting them at risk. Thank you.
Good morning. Eric Lippman, President of Las Vegas Firefighters Local 1285. I just want to speak on a couple of minutes. This recommendation and adoption has not included us as the representatives for our brother and sister firefighters and as the stakeholders with the other stakeholders throughout this process. This recommendation reduces fire safety by adopting a mid-rise standard that the state statute has not defined. In fact, this same proposal was killed in committee at the state during the last legislative session, as my two colleagues has communicated to all of you. There's a serious question even as to the legality of our city adopting this code, because it could be argued that this supersedes state legislation and what the state statute is at this time, which defines a high-rise at 55 feet. That is a fact. Even the state fire marshal, Fire Marshal Chambers, does not support nor recommend this code change, and that has not been mentioned here today. Our own state fire marshal. After the SIMA bill was defeated at legislature, we offered to work together in an attempt to support changes. Unfortunately, we were never approached. I testified here in February to all of you about the residential sprinklers that we were absolutely in support of because it increased life safety, although it was an additional cost to our citizens. These changes that are in front of you today that you are recommending reduces fire safety systems for what appears to be going on across this country to build 6-story wood structures without the proper fire suppression systems, as my president of the PFFN has communicated to you, as it relates to fire pump systems, communication systems, all those systems that increase life safety for the city residents and us as firefighters. At a cost reduction of about 1 to 2% has been testified at state legislature for the developers. So I find it difficult to believe that our fathers and mothers of our city would support increasing the life safety with the residential fire systems, fire sprinklers, with an increased cost, yet we're now going to turn around and support decreasing the fire safety systems at a decreased cost to the developers that want to build these. It just doesn't make any sense. We're simply asking this committee to place this recommendation into abeyance until we can sit down with the stakeholders, as we already requested and our lobbyist, Todd Inglesby, has communicated to you, and hammer out a code change that keeps the citizens of Las Vegas and our 700 members of Las Vegas Fire and Rescue safe. Thank you.
Yeah, let me just ask you guys a question. So you are specifically talking about the high-rise, this 55 to 75 issue, right?
Correct.
Okay, which is agenda item number 9. So we have all these other 10, 11, 12, up to 17. Do you care about those? I mean, do those have any impact on you? Because what I'm trying to figure out is which ones should we obey, which ones should we vote on, which ones should we not, based on your particular comments. So just from you, I guess I'll ask our staff to explain this, but from your standpoint, what are you speaking to?
Councilman, once again, Angelo Aragon, President of the Professional Firefighters of Nevada. The difficult position we've been placed in without being included in the discussion up to this point. Literally a week ago today, my lobbyist and I found out that this bill was going to come before this recommending committee. Immediately, I made some meetings with recommending committee and gave our position. I'm here today to speak against it. The difficult position that we are placed in is because we haven't had the time to go through each one of these individually to see where they are. We don't know if they affect us and to what extent they affect us.
They could all be integrated.
Yes.
Okay, that I understand.
Do they all affect us? Yes.
Okay.
Have we had the opportunity to go through these individually? No, we have not. What we are asking to do, and let me make this very clear, the Professional Firefighters of Nevada are not opposed to new construction. We understand what that means to this city, and we are in total support of new construction. What we are asking is that it be placed into abeyance so that we have the opportunity to meet with every single stakeholder and be given a seat at the table to discuss the changes that affect our lives and the lives of your constituents. That is what we are asking to do. That is all.
Okay.
I believe we can come to some type of compromise language or some type of compromise position if we are allowed to do that. Okay. We are not opposed to the new construction.
Councilman, in fact, just for your information and Councilman Fiore's information, there already was discussions, and our lobbyist, Todd Inglesby, had already begun to draft changes that were a compromise in these systems, and we were never heard from again after legislature. So we've already begun to work on a compromise, but all we're asking to do is be a stakeholder in this process. And as of yet, we simply don't feel like we have been, and that's why we want to place this in abeyance today.
And Council, we did provide an amendment during the legislative session, during committee, that we could agree on, and it was the other parties would not agree on that.
Okay. I'll explain what we're talking about here in a second. All right, I understand what you're talking about then. Thank you.
Councilman,
let me just go ahead.
Answer a question?
Sure.
For the record, Kevin McCosker, Building and Safety. The definition for a high-rise also exists in the International Building Code, so it does have an issue with that item also.
Which item are you talking about?
Number 10.
Number 10, okay, thank you. All right, very good. Okay, continue with public comment. Come on down.
Hi, good morning. Carrie Kramer on behalf of NAOP. We're here to support the change in the code. However, if it is obeyed, we would love to be a part of stakeholder meetings as well and have the opportunity to talk about continuing safe development within the city of Las Vegas.
Hi.
Hi, Tommy White, Laborers Local 872, 2345 Red Rock Street. I'm here to go on record stating that Laborers Local 872 is going to support the firefighters on this, obeying this issue. And I believe if this is obeyed to a September meeting, you're going to need a bigger room. because you will have both the firefighters and the laborers showing up that day, showing that we're going to support each other on both of our issues. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, John Curran, 701 East Bridger, here on behalf of Downtown Project to voice support for these proposed ordinance. Adopting these ordinances would enable and promote new development and help us achieve our goal of increasing residential density. We encourage you to follow what the International Building Code has done in a lot of other major cities, and here to voice our support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there, Council. Jim Begley, Principal of Terp Consulting, 1604 South Maryland Parkway. I'm a licensed and registered fire protection engineer and former firefighter. Our company, we have 5 offices across the country, and we practice in jurisdictions, obviously significantly locally, across the country, and worldwide. I speak in favor of items 9 through 17, and in particular, the 55 to 75-foot high-rise provision transition. The reason why I speak in favor of it is because there is no appreciable significant life safety benefit relative to the 55 to 75 threshold because of changes that have occurred since that threshold was put into effect here in the state of Nevada. I just want to show you, this was the building code that was in effect when the 55-foot threshold was put into play, and this is the actual code now. And so what you have is there are a number of fire life safety provisions that have been incorporated into the code over the last 20 plus years, which now compensate for that 20-foot high-rise threshold. I have not seen any appreciable difference across the country. There are very, very few jurisdictions that have a 55-foot threshold, and it does put the city at a competitive disadvantage if other jurisdictions do adopt the 75-foot threshold versus the 55-foot threshold.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak on this? Okay, let me just ask Tom and Val a couple of questions. So it's been asked that this be obeyed for further discussion. So are there some time critical dates that we need to know about when it comes to obeying something like this? Sometimes there are, sometimes there are not.
Councilman Anthony, this is Kevin McCosker, Director of Building and Safety for the record. So what we're up against right now is a state law provision, NRS 477-030, that allows us to be exempt from the state fire marshal regulations where the 55-foot rule comes in. That's NRS 477-030. There's 3 conditions. The conditions are we are in a county of over 700,000. The code is adopted within 1 year of publication. The publication of the International Building and International Fire Code was August 31st of 2017. So we are pretty close. We got about a month to get the code adopted. And the third condition is that we're at least as stringent as the model code.
So what happens after August 31st?
We do not have the authority to exempt ourselves from the state fire marshal's regulation, which includes the 55-foot rule.
So what does that mean?
We go back, we would have to adopt the high-rise provision at 55 feet.
What do you mean you'd have to? I mean, if we don't adopt it, what, it automatically becomes adopted?
It does not automatically become adopted, but we cannot exempt ourselves from any of the fire marshal's regulations. So we would have to follow the state fire marshal's regulations. And this is one of the rules in the fire marshal's regulations.
Okay, that doesn't kind of make sense. It sounds like you're telling me we automatically adopt it if we don't adopt it.
Mr. Chair, if I could try and clarify this. The default in Nevada is that all jurisdictions have to follow the state fire marshal regulations, no matter what their fire and building code says. Okay. There is an exemption within a county that has at least 700,000 people, which means Clark County and its constituent cities, if they adopt their own adaptation of the International Fire Code and International Building Code within 1 year after its publication by the Uniform Code people, then the local governments that adopt those can enforce their own rules, even though they might be inconsistent with state fire marshal regulations. If that adoption doesn't take place, all of the state fire marshal regulations, no matter what they are, but including this foot limitation that we're talking about, have to be enforced locally, no matter what the local code says. That's why the August 31st date is critical.
So the state fire marshal is mandating that the high-rise provision be 75 feet?
55 feet.
55 feet?
Yeah,
State
he
fire
is not,
marshals?
he is not in favor, and I spoke that earlier, he is not in favor of this recommendation. The state fire marshal is not in favor of this recommendation to move forward in this code adoption. And furthermore, what I have a little bit of difficulty with is, just as we already communicated to you, we had open communications and already had started working on this when legislation ended. When the same bill that's in front of you today, the same code ordinance that was in front of you today at legislation in 2017, and it was killed in committee, we were more than willing, on behalf of the PFFN, to sit down and discuss and hammer out some compromise, and we were never heard from. So now, in front of you today, they're giving you a time limit now of less than a month, basically less than a month, to make a decision now that's going to affect the citizens and our members. That doesn't exactly pass the smell test for me, because what they're doing is putting you under the gun to make a decision and make a recommendation, when they've had months and months to sit down with us and discuss the changes that we had already proposed at the end of legislation.
Councilman Anthony, if I may. Kevin McCosker, Building and Safety. I want to talk a little bit about the snowball process. We began the code amendment process in September, right after the codes were published. We reached out to all stakeholders involved in the process, including Mr. Beeman and Mr. Englesby, because we had met them at Carson City at the legislative session. Our process has been open. We included the fire chiefs this cycle with our code adoption process. So that it's been open and available to everybody for the past 11 months. So.
Council, I was never...
Councilman Fiore, you want to ask a
Hi.
question?
I just wanted to make sure with our staff that if we were to obey this until August 13th, and then, or if we were to obey it until August 13th, that fits into the time frame to where it would be heard on council on the 15th, I believe. I'm seeing a head shake. Or we could also, it's of course up to the chair, but just let's say recommend denial and send it to the council. I mean, can we do that too?
Okay, yeah, so, yeah, we could obey this for 2 weeks, let you guys all talk some more, and then you can come back to recommending and tell us what your final position is on everybody's side, and do public comment, and then finally hear it on August 15th at the city council meeting. So that's, 2 weeks should be enough for you guys to meet, so that probably would make everything pretty safe.
Yeah, I think so.
So let me go ahead and continue with public comment, and that's something you can consider as your motion. So, okay. And is there any more public comment out there? All right, you want to make a comment?
Robert Nolan, Fire Marshal. For the record, I wanted to bring up a clarification. The stairway communication system mentioned is the employee communication system for people who enter a locked stairwell and wish to communicate with someone to come and get them. The firefighter communication system is actually a radio biamplification system, and that's required in all buildings by 510 of the fire code. And so the firefighter communications by radio would not be removed. Also, smoke removal systems or to combat mechanical smoke removal or to combat stack effect in buildings where you have colder, denser air on the outside that is commonly believed to occur physically over 75 to 85 feet. In some coastal jurisdictions, that could be as low as 4 stories. In some jurisdictions, it could be higher, but it's not a physical necessity. And I just wanted to clarify that with the passage of our residential sprinkler ordinance, it was dependent upon implementation with the 2018 fire code. If we choose not to adopt a 2018 fire code, or to delay it, it would delay residential fire sprinkler implementation. That was part of the cost-benefit analysis and the consideration in the MO, where'd the home builders go? That was part of our agreement that we would not take residential sprinkler requirements that had been removed from the 2012 code and try to put them back in. We would wait and insert them appropriately, like the Title 19 changes. So again, it would affect or delay our ability to implement residential fire sprinklers.
Thank you.
Eric Lippman, President of Las Vegas Firefighters Local 1285. We're willing to concede, certainly, that further discussion needs to take place in all these particular measures for negotiation. We just want to have a seat at the table, and regardless of what you heard today, we certainly don't feel that there has been a concerted effort to include us in this, and that's all we're asking for, even if that means the IFF convention is happening the week of August 6th, and we are all willing to come back overnight if we have to make sure that we can hammer out some changes. And I would defer to my state president, Aragon, and our state lobbyist, Todd Inglesby, to lead that, because they've already begun the process months ago and was just looking for an avenue to negotiate these changes.
Okay, thank you. Any more public comment? All right, I mean, I think you've stated your case that we need to hold off on this, so all of you have a little bit more discussion, but I'm hoping that we can at least make a decision before the August 31st meeting. So let me just read into the record. I read in number 9, so let me just go through the rest of them, and then I'll see if Councilman Fiore has a motion to make. So item number 10, 2018-27 adopts the 2018 edition of the International Building Code. Item number 11, 2018-28 adopts the 2018 edition of the International Residential Code. Item number 12, 2018-29 adopts the 2018 International Existing Building Code. Item 13, 2018-30 adopts the 2018 International Energy Conservation Code. Item 14, 2018-31 for possible action adopts the 2018 International Swimming Pool and Spa Code. Under number 15, 2018-32 adopts the 2018 Uniform Mechanical Code. Item 16, 2018-32 adopts the 2018 Uniform Plumbing Code. Item number 2017, 2018-34 adopts the 2017 International Code. Anybody want to make public comment on items 10 through 17 that I just opened up? Come on up here.
Matt Hodgson, for the record, Southern Nevada Home Builders Association. I just want to make sure I make myself clear, because I actually gave my comments before everything got heard. Still supportive, but item number 11 with the IRC, and as Chief Nolan pointed out, item 9 with the IFC, the agreement is to move them together with the MOU that I believe has been obeyed, so they would have to go back together. I just want to make sure that I didn't confuse everybody on that. It's been a year process. It's a bunch of moving parts that this is where they all come together, so I want to make sure I was clear. Thanks.
Any other comment? Okay, so we have items 9 through 17 open. Aye.
Okay, so I believe that we're just obeying 9 right now, or 9 through 17?
Well, you can make a motion for 9 through 17.
I can make a motion from 9 through 17 to obey just until August 13th. So that basically means we literally have 2 weeks to get our feces aggregated together and make sure that we're on the same page. Okay? So abeyance request till August 13th. So then we go up or down on council on Wednesday, the 15th.
Very good. Okay, I have a motion. Go ahead and vote. And post. Okay. Motion carries. All right, so we will we'll knock this out on the 13th, and then Councilwoman Fiore has asked me to bring back item number 8. So for possible action, amends the Unified Development Code to provide for administrative deferrals and deviations regarding certain development adjustments. So Councilman Fiore.
Okay, so because we're obeying 9 through 17 just for 2 weeks and not 30 days, we're going to put item 8 in that lump sum as well. So I'm going to request abeyance to August 13th, so we stay within the time frame. And again, we can all figure it out.
So do we have to make a motion to reconsider? Okay, would you make a motion to reconsider first?
Yes, motion to reconsider.
Thank you. And go ahead and vote. And post. Okay, motion carries to reconsider item number 8. And your motion?
My motion is to obey item number 8 until August 13th.
Thank you. We have a motion. Please vote. And post. Motion carried. All right. We obeyed almost everything. All right. Okay, thank you. Item number 18, citizen participation. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the committee. Does anybody want to make public comment during citizen participation at our recommending committee? All right, seeing none, we are adjourned, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you very much.